Hopefully that's okay with everybody to hit the record. So, and everyone who attends today will get a follow-up workshop with 3 practical energy strategies that you can start using right away. And this session is scheduled to run to 10:15. So for those of you who hang in with us until the end, we'll be drawing for a free, no obligation coaching course. So one person, coaching session. So one person will get a coaching session with the lovely Rosemary. Um, so I hope that sounds good. I hope you're up for the journey today, and we'll get going. So before we dive in, we're going to be introducing a tool today, just so we can get the pulse of how everybody is showing. I will advance this here. Okay, so we're inviting you to grab a device. Usually we say let's down on devices, but we're asking you to grab a device, open a window, and go to menti.com. You can also use the QR code and plug in the code 15206914, and Rosemary has put that in the chat for you. And by this way, we'll be able to participate in questions. We'll understand where people are in the room, and then this becomes a nice artifact of our conversation today. So we really welcome your participation. You can also participate through chat, and at some points we'll be inviting voices in. So let's see if this is working, and we are curious as we get started. What's one word that describes how you're feeling today as you're showing up here? And so if you want to plug in that answer, we're going to build a word cloud here. Oh, that's a beautiful word to start with, present. Okay, here it comes. Hopeful. Yeah, if you're feeling depleted, overwhelmed, stressed, tired. We hear that a lot, right, Rosemary?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I love the words that are dominant here is hopeful, optimistic, like present, curious. That's great. Thank you all for participating. And so no matter how you're feeling today, you're in the right place. This isn't just another conversation about burnout. It's about reclaiming your energy and creating lasting change. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Oh no, I'm not going to stop sharing. I'm going to turn it over to Rosemary, and we'll go to the next slide.
Okay, thanks very much, Catherine. I want to talk about the personal cost of burnout. In 2019, the World Health Organization defined burnout as an actual syndrome caused by chronic workplace stress. And it hasn't gotten any better since then. Since the pandemic, burnout rates have increased significantly. I'm sure many of you have either felt this personally or witnessed it in others. Studies show 48% of workers feel mentally and physically exhausted at the end of their workday, and 55% of leaders are experiencing high or extreme levels of stress. So just think about that. Stress and exhaustion have become so normalized that we don't even question it. I've personally worked in lots of challenging leadership roles for about 25 years. But a few years ago, I woke up one morning and I simply could no longer function, mentally or physically. After decades of just pushing through, working harder, and not allowing myself to rest, I burned out completely. I had to take immediate medical leave, which lasted for 4 months. I couldn't even talk to my team one more time, organize my files, clear my desk, nothing. I was done. And it was really scary. And it also was a turning point for me that sparked a deep exploration about burnout, what causes it, why does it happen. Um, and I've also spent the last 2.5 years in India studying meditation, breath work, and the mind body connection in ancient traditions. That's where I am right now. I'm here from Mumbai, so it's very late at night for me. But burnout doesn't have to happen, and it doesn't happen overnight. It builds up over time. And if we don't pay attention to the warning signs and intervene, recovery can take much, much longer. Catherine mentioned earlier the importance of energy and how we feel is how we show up. Let's do a quick poll again about where you feel your energy level is at right now. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how depleted, thinking about your average, your typical work week, how depleted do you feel at the end of your work week? Completely depleted.
You mean on average?
Yeah, just generally, because it varies sometimes, right? Depending on what's going on for sure. But when you think generally, what is it like for you at the end of your work week? Okay.
Mm.
So we've got some completely depleted, high level of very depleted at the end of the week, moderately, really you can see it's heavy, isn't it? And I mean, that is why we're here today. That's what we're talking about. So that makes a lot of sense. Um, sorry, I have to make my screen smaller here. So when you think about your typical work week, what is it that drains your energy the most? So just take a moment and think about it. What is the biggest energy drain for you? And if you can just pop something in the chat, and we might hear from one or two people as well, but I'll just give you a minute to think about that and identify what's the biggest energy drain. Decision making, decision fatigue. It's a real thing.
The
Not
mental
being able to
load.
the mental load, not being able to complete, the work that you want to do, false urgency and plot twists. And I know I'm not getting them all. They're flying in here, which is great. Difficult people.
Yeah, extended work days,
Yeah.
right? Often we
Yeah.
feel that to actually do the work, we need to be doing that in our own time. And that's where our evenings
Hmm.
and weekends come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Constant changing priorities, working so hard, but the work never ends. That endless inbox, right? The to-do list,
Hmm.
snowball management,
And there's a
false
few on the
urgency.
false urgency, right? And
Yeah.
we always say that urgency is an emotion, right? And the question is it important? Right? Because it may be
Hmm.
urgent to someone, but that's an emotion. Yeah.
Hmm.
Just feeling like your time isn't your own, right? It needs to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Way too
Yeah,
many
exactly.
meetings. Oh my goodness. The number of people we meet with who are just going back to back. I mean, with no time for bathroom breaks. I mean, the really practical stuff.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
Juggling, juggling too many tasks,
Yeah.
too many demands, requests that aren't strategic. Yeah. So, I mean, really, it shows this variety, right? I'd like to invite it. Would anyone like to just elaborate a bit on what they have shared about what drains them the most? Feel free to just take off your mic and jump in.
I'm the one that put snow globe management. It just
Okay.
seems like the work environment now is like being shaken and things are all over the place, and you're trying to navigate not just multiple things, but multiple personalities urgencies. And it just seems more and more people are on an edge. So you're managing that to try to navigate, but you really don't know where it's going because the snow is fluttering everywhere.
Mhm. Love that image, Marjorie.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a blizzard of chaos,
Actually,
and it's,
I'm from Manitoba and we're getting 20 centimeters blizzard and all of our roads are going to
oh,
be closed down in 24 hours. So maybe that's why. So,
oh, there you go, Marjorie. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry, Alex, I see that you've got your hand raised. Please
Hi,
share.
I'm Alex Russell. I like that term. I wrote it down, snow globe management. And I also want to give a shout out to Laura Coley. Requests that aren't strategic. Um, that's one of my pet peeves. And like, I just can't stand it when clients will say, like, you write the sexy words. They think that you're just a pen. But what I contributed was juggling competing demands amid tight and sometimes artificially tight timelines, as well as totally shifting direction, and then sometimes complete ghosting, or like unusually long pauses that we weren't planning for in terms of direction. It's like go, 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 go. And then suddenly something stops for reasons you can't understand. Um, and sometimes the ghosting is like forever, and sometimes the ghosting is temporary. But that really throws me off, especially when I feel like we've been, chugging, chugging, chugging along, and all of a sudden halt. And I realize that sometimes often there are things going on outside of me, but I find it really, especially as I'm getting older, harder to like gear up and like rally, rally, go, 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 and then suddenly,
Mm.
well, and like stay focused, don't get frazzled by their shifting direction. And yep, I can throw that in there too. Slice that other
Yeah.
dimension, and then all of a sudden, no direction. So that
Yeah,
that
Alex, you're touching on so
oh
many
yeah.
key things that make things really challenging. There's external pressures,
Mhm.
there's the internal ways, things that are in our control, and there's things that are completely out of our control. And how do we navigate that? And just talking about the unexpected changes and trying to stay focused yourself within that, and how can you stay focused
I
and
think
how
I
can
just
you learn how to
described
do that?
like the job environment of just about any professional
Mhm.
senior communicator in this day and age, or maybe for the last 20 years. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
who relates to that,
Yes.
right? So,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it is true. And I mean, there are definitely commonalities, and the workplace environment, I think, has just become increasingly challenging, right? We're always on with our devices. People can communicate with us and ask us to do work in a myriad of different ways, that we can be contacted, always having to respond. So it is challenging, and there will always be things that are out of our control, but there are some things that are within our control as well. And
Yeah.
it's personal. I think this is an important thing too. What drains one person might not drain another person. There's certainly lots of commonalities, but it can be quite unique too. And feeling depleted and exhausted may have become the norm, but it doesn't have to be that way. And life was never meant to be a struggle. I know that sounds really philosophical, but it's not. It shouldn't be that hard. We should be able to live our lives with a sense of ease. One of the things that is keeping us in this struggle of overdrive and exhaustion is the myth that more effort equals better results. I'll just work harder. I'll stay a little bit later this weekend. I'll come in on Saturday. This needs to be perfect. It's this relentless work ethic that is one of the factors that results in overextension and eventual burnout. Effort without breaks reduces our performance in the long run. It's not sustainable and it's not effective. So I hear I hear all of these things that you're sharing. And Catherine, I think you're going to talk a little bit now about understanding the stress cycle and
Yeah,
energy.
yeah, very much. Thank you, Rosemary. So I will reshare this. We'll get back to the deck. And so what we want to introduce you here to, I'll just bring up the slide, hit present. Too many things going on here. Okay, can everyone see this diagram? Yeah, so we want to think about how could we manage our stress by thinking about it differently. So most of us have been taught how to manage our time. But what if the real issue is our energy? Because as we know, time is finite and it's undefeated. We get 24 hours a day, no matter what, and that's not going to change. But energy is sometimes something we can cultivate, manage, and sustain if we understand how. That is completely in our control. And as Rosemary was saying earlier, that's where we start to manage ourselves, is what's in our control, because we can't manage what isn't in our control. So we want to introduce you to a key concept which we call the energy management model, or the wave model. Our energy moves in rhythms like the waves. So we see over here, right? We have the waves and we have effort and we have renewal. So with rising effort, then we reset with recovery. When we push too hard for too long without renewal, we create this sort of high, unsustainable peaks of overdrive that can lead to depletion and burnout, like a crashing wave. So stress is a part of our lives, let's face it, and we're hardwired to handle it. But after the challenge or the threat passes, we're meant to return to balance, what we call this vitality zone, right? That's where we want to be operating in. This is where effort and renewal flow together, right? We perform and we renew, we perform and we renew. That's the natural cycle. But what neuroscience shows us is we can get stuck. Whether the stressor is internal or external, real or perceived, our physiological response is the same. The response is controlled by our limbic system, which is the brain's emotional center. And while it's helped us survive as a species for millennia, under chronic stress, the prefrontal cortex, which is our decision making, our reasoning, and our self control, that starts to go offline. And the amygdala, which is our ancient alarm system, takes over. We get hijacked. And so when our amygdala is operating at the dashboard of our life, this keeps us in hyper alert and reactive, flooding our body with stress hormones, which increases our heart rate, raises our blood pressure, and heightens tension in the body. So it has that physiological impact. So when we continue to ignore recovery, right, when we don't keep this balance going, it's really like a tsunami, powerful at first, but ultimately destructive. So chronic overdrive leads to diminishing returns. So it's not more effort, more results. It leads us to diminishing turns like more mistakes, worse decisions, and exhaustion. And it disrupts our entire nervous system. But when we work hard and regularly restore our natural energy rhythms, we sustain both performance and well-being. And that's what we'll be talking about in our program, is how do we really cultivate this zone of effort and renewal in the performance zone and really stay out of this. So one of the questions we have, and I think some of you have started filling that out already. believe. Let me go to it. Oh, maybe not. Is the question we're asking is, what's one thing you do that genuinely restores your energy? What's helpful for you when you're feeling you're in that overdrive? Hikes in nature, sleep. There's a beautiful quote I came across that they said the bridge between hope and despair is a good night's sleep. Night's sleep is so important. Okay, so lots of, moving, being in nature, taking a walk, time with friends, connections really important. Reading romantasy, what a great escape, right? Yeah. Running, yoga, dance class, time with kiddies, art. Yeah. Grounding my body to remember what's in our control. We need to remind ourselves of that for sure. Great. So many ways you can all, take inspiration from the ways that we do recover. And then ask ourselves, like, how often are we doing this in a day? And if we did more of it, what would the results be? So Rosemary, I'm going to turn it back to you at this point.
Thanks, Catherine. And I think it was a really key point that you mentioned about, we have this awareness about what feeds our soul, what gives us energy, what can help restore us, but we often don't do it, or we don't do it enough. And I know I really experienced that when I was heading towards burnout. I just stopped doing the things that I knew restored me. And I don't know why, but it wasn't helpful. So there are many ways, as we've seen from the responses, that people can find themselves to get restored. But there is one very simple and effective way. It's often overlooked, but it's a really good way to help reset our equilibrium, to bring us back to sort of homeostasis when our nervous system is completely wired. It's simple, and it's basically taking an intentional, mindful pause and focusing on our breath. It's one of the fastest ways to shift ourselves out of stress mode. Advances in neuroscience show that slowing our breath, and especially taking long, slow exhales, lowers cortisol, calms the sympathetic nervous system, and restores cognitive function. And it does it very, very quickly. This is why Navy SEALs famously learn certain breathing techniques, right? When they're in very, very stressful situations, to calm themselves, to get the nervous system back in line. So I would like to guide you through a very short mindful breathing exercise so we can practice together. I invite you to turn your cameras off for this part if you like, just for a bit of privacy. Close your eyes or lower, soften your gaze if you prefer. Sit up straight but not stiff. Have your feet planted on the ground. Drop your shoulders and rest your palms on your thighs. Inhale deeply through your nose and exhale slowly. Really draw it out. Inhale again through the nose and slowly exhale. Repeat 2 or 3 more times at your own pace. As you inhale, feel your chest expand and your spine lengthen. As you exhale, feel your tension release. Now just let your breath be natural. expanding gently as you inhale and relaxing as you exhale. Relax your forehead. Relax the space between your eyebrows. Release any tension in your jaw, in your shoulders, even your hands. And just breathe. Gently bring your awareness back and open your eyes. And I invite you to turn your cameras back on. I appreciate you going through that exercise with me. Even short pauses like this start to reset the nervous system. It can be done anywhere, anytime. We are always breathing. And over time, practicing these sort of mindful breathing practices not only reduces our stress, but it also enhances our focus, our creativity, and our resilience, which we've heard through, the examples that were shared. We really need to be resilient with the work that we're doing. Taking breaks isn't a luxury. It's a performance strategy. So just thinking about, your work and your day, what's one small way that you could build a mindful pause like this into your daily routine? Just think about that. If you want to share something in the chat too, that might be helpful for others to hear, that would be great. Just one small way that you could build this into your day.
Yeah, I see this the stepping away for lunch, like, how many of us just grab that sandwich over our computer. Yeah.
Stand up, look out the window, and breathe.
Yeah. Rob says he started using the purposeful pauses at the start of meetings with your team.
Oh, great.
What a wonderful way to ground a team. Yeah, starting the day with the morning
I'll
walk.
often do that. Yeah. And I often do that in coaching sessions too, especially if someone's really wired. It's hard to settle, isn't it, when you've just been running? Oh, land acknowledgements. That's a real grounding process that we do in BC for sure. I don't know if other areas do as well in the same way, but
Yeah.
theoretically starting the day with a morning walk. Yeah. Yeah, lots of great ideas. Getting out, fresh air, even 5 minutes. So really a lot of great suggestions and acknowledgement that it helps even if it's short, but it's doing it that makes the difference for us, isn't it?
Yeah, I
So
think
thank you
that's
so much.
Yeah, I was
Go
going to
ahead,
say,
Catherine.
Rosemary,
Sorry.
I think you're right. I mean, the intention is always there. It's actually turning the intention into
Yeah. Sorry,
action.
I'm laughing at the one about putting the head out the window like a dog. That's great.
Yeah, whatever
Oh,
works. Yeah,
yeah. Oh, thank you so much. So, Catherine, I'll hand it over to you now for this next part.
great. And thank you for that lovely pause. I'm always reminded, like when I hear the relax your jaw, relax your face, how much tension that we hold. And that was like a 2-minute reset. And it really is grounding. So thank you for that already. So already we've covered a lot. We've talked about the personal cost of being in survival mode, the energy management model, how we want to get into that vitality zone of making sure that when we expend energy that we're renewing. We talked about the neuroscience of stress and what keeps us there and the importance of releasing that, and of course the power of the pause. And these are all important starting points to help us manage our energy and navigate the demands of leadership more intentionally. And so, if this content resonates with you, you might be wondering, how can I go deeper? And how do we move from insight, right? Because this is just the start of it, is creating that awareness, knowing that we're not alone in all of this. But how do we go from insight to real lasting change? And so, we want to introduce you to a program that we've created, and we've created it for this exact reason of making these practices sustainable. So this is the Survive to Thrive Performance Without Burnout coaching program, and it's a 10-week program specifically designed for leaders and professionals who want to lead with energy, who want to show up and maintain that balance. Because as helpful as one session or great workshop can be, we know real change takes time and practice and support, like hearing from others and sharing those ideas. And so here's a visual of the coaching program journey that this program takes. It's structured around 3 key phases. Each one builds upon the last one. We start with an orientation session to the program, where we introduce the cohort, we understand the challenges, and we really set the intention and the practices for learning, for holding the commitment, and to starting to put into practice some of the tools and strategies that will help you in your workplace. And then we move into the awareness and understanding. So we go deep into what underlies burnout, what it is and how it shows up. We shift from thinking about time management to understanding energy management. And then we explore that mind-body connection and how that and emotional regulation play a critical role in sustaining performance. And then we move into the next phase, which is really the skill building and rewiring habits. So we get really practical here. You learn tools to regulate stress, shift unhelpful thinking patterns that keep us stuck. We learn how to set boundaries that stick and without guilt, how to say no. And we learn how to reclaim our focus, attention, and time. And then finally, we move into the last phase where we zoom out and look at what truly matters to you and how you want to manage your work life and manage your life. You'll clarify your core values, which will become how you guide yourself, and you'll design a personalized energy management plan so you can lead and live life in a way that's authentic, energizing, and sustainable. And so that's the program. And for you wanting to explore more, we just want to direct you to our website, which I'll bring out here. And I think, Rosemary, you've put the link.
Yeah, it's in the chat as well.
Okay,
yeah.
That's great. So I'll just share where that is. Just a quick orientation of all the information you need is here. So it gives you insight on the program, who's it for, why it matters, what makes the program unique, a little bit about us. You are able to apply through the website. If you want more information, we've created a deck that takes you through a lot of the core information all at once. Sometimes some of you may need to build a business case if you want your company to support this. So that's where all that information is, and we encourage you to take a look there. And we also know what's usually on the mind when we talk about a program is, like what does this look like, right? Sorry, bear with me as I'm flipping between and trying to share. Oh, this is not working very well. There we go. Can everyone see that? Back?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so just a little bit about, like show me the money, what's it going to cost? So the regular program cost is $18.50 a person, and because this is a pilot program, we're offering a discount for this first cohort and offering it at $13.90, which is a 25% saving. And that's when you sign up for the program, which starts May 22nd and runs till July 24th. So again, this is about half the cost of a coaching package if you were to go that route, and you get the benefit of a cohort and that support and that ongoing learning. You'll see what's included here is the hours, you get the cohort, and there's also a 3-month follow-up session that we will offer just to check in on progress and see what, skills and routines and habits are emerging. So space is limited. If you're interested in going deeper and making meaningful change, feel free to explore the information. And everything you need is there. And if you want to reach out to Rosemary or I to discuss it more information, maybe you have questions, then feel free to do that too. So that's it. So before we move on, because we want to offer you a few more tools, just want to pause here and ask if there's something you're curious about, either about the program or anything we've touched on today. So what questions?
Catherine, there was one question in the chat, and it's asking how long the sessions are and when they are, weekdays, evenings. Good questions. I'll let you answer.
Yeah. So these are 90-minute sessions, and it's an intentional amount of time because research says that is the optimal time for focus and really being able to go deep and hold our attention. So they're 90-minute sessions. They are on a Thursday at 9 a.m. Yeah, we've said 9 a.m. Yeah. Any other questions about anything you've heard so far today? What are you curious about? Alex, I think you at the beginning had asked a question of, if we defined burnout.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Rosemary, do you want to take that question? Oh, yeah.
Yes,
there we go.
There. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great transition, actually. And really good comments so far. There's so much that we could talk about. But we are getting close to the end, but we do have some tools and content to share with you. And about burnout, Alex, I do want to talk about the burnout continuum. So Catherine and I have been researching and developing our program for more than a year now. And what we've discovered is that people really do want to know where they're at with regard to burnout because they aren't sure. A lot of people talk about burnout, but there's not a lot of information about what it exactly is. People want to know, are they at risk of burning out? Are they burned out already? Is what they're experiencing normal? So based on our research and finding out that people really wanted to know this, we've created a simple burnout self-assessment. And we're going to send this to everyone that's attended today. And just so you can take some time to fill out the assessment on your own rather than process it here during this short session. And then it will give you an indication of where you are on the burnout continuum. I just want to be really clear up front because I think it's important. This is not a diagnostic instrument. We are not psychologists, but it is a helpful tool for some self-reflection that can give you an indication of where your current risk of burnout, what your current risk of burnout is. And it is based on several other instruments that are out there around trying to measure burnout.
This is great that you're covering this. Thank you.
Oh, good.
I just want to say that as somebody who has actually had burnout, I didn't know that I had it until I was in it and burnt out. And in some cases, for some people, their employers require, like, I never took a medical pause because unfortunately I didn't recognize I was in the, at-risk burnout. But for some people who end up in that situation during a job, they may need to take a medical pause and then they have to, get a medical diagnosis of burnout to be able to take that pause. So somebody put in the chat, my observation is that this is often higher risk for women to experience burnout. And in the reading I've done, and I'd be curious to know, Kath and Rosemary, if you've seen this too, that there are some other factors that can make some people more at risk of burnout, such as being in perimenopause or menopause, right? Or if you have ADHD or that type of thing. In your research, have you found anything like that applies to, this audience group?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about applying specifically to this group, but in the research that I have come across on the reasons for burnout, they are varied because it is personal, but there are consistence around, like I mentioned earlier, strong work ethic, a propensity to be pleasing, people pleasing. I actually don't really love that word. I like more like super accommodating, hyper accommodating. And so there are some commonalities, but there's a lot of variation too. And the important, one of the really key things that I learned in research is that it's a combination of factors. It's not just one thing. And that combination can be very different. So your example of perimenopause. So your body's already dealing with huge hormonal changes. That's one stressor on its own. And then you combine that with, something that's happening at work. And then there's a lot of times women become in the sandwich zone of being a caregiver for their aging parent and still a caregiver for children that are at home. That was my personal experience, trying to fill all that role while having the stuff at work too. So yeah, you can't say there's one thing that causes it or even three things that cause it, because it's a combination of the factors, and that combination is different for everyone. So
yeah, and I wasn't suggesting that there's one cause. I was just picking up one of the comments in the chat that said that often women can be more at risk.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right, Alex. Yeah. I got carried away on my own research tangent there. But I'm trying to remember if I've seen that I think there is a higher level for women that suffer from burnout, but you know what? I don't have that stat on the top of my mind. So I'm not going to say for sure, but I'm pretty sure there's an indication. I don't know, Catherine, if you can remember that in the myriads of things that we've gone over around talking about more women burning out than men.
Yeah, I know we've discussed it, but I can't recall the stat.
Hmm.
And the other element that you mentioned too, Alex, is yeah, we don't often know that we're in burnout, right? Because
Hmm.
we're
Hmm.
stepping on the gas, we're, holding on to the car wheel and we're just driving. And so we're often not aware of it. And so it's knowing that and knowing that even our colleagues or our other family members may not be aware of it. The more we increase our awareness about what it is, how it shows up, is going to be helpful because then we can intervene a lot earlier. There was
Hmm.
also a question in the chat about is there any conversation around balancing both professional and personal burnout? And we're very much of the mind of looking at this from a whole person
Hmm.
perspective, because if any of you have seen that show Severance, right, where they actually separate the personal from the work, that's not who we are. So if we're feeling the burnout on the personal front, we're bringing that into the work front and vice versa. So we really look at it from a whole person perspective. So I see there's
Hmm.
a question from Jeanette and then Marjorie. So we'll go there. Jeanette, nice to see you.
Yeah, always. Good morning. Yeah, loving this conversation. I guess it's a question and a reflection around something I've been working on is just, yeah, I guess a prevention method is body self-awareness. And how can I have more self-awareness in my body is being connected to my body. And so a lot of things that were shared around how we ground and take pause are exactly those methodologies like movement, grounding, connecting with nature. And I think that's been helpful for me. A few years ago, I had a health scare. I had shingles after a really bad, stressful period. And it could have been burnout, but it was something else that ended up being just a big red flag for me to like tune into my body because it could be something else. And that was a relatively short stint to recover, but also just it only gets heavier and harder the more senior your role becomes, I've noticed, and I want to be mindful of it. So I thought this topic was super timely. And yeah, I think I'm just curious about other sort of prevention thoughts that you have. But my personal instinct is just that body self-awareness.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'll just jump in there, Catherine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's really key. And I was completely disconnected from my body when I got burned out. And like Alex, like you, I didn't know I was burned out until I couldn't get out of bed one day, basically. So the importance of the mind-body connection cannot be overestimated. It's really, really important, and how there's so many different ways to explore that. The mindfulness, going for breaks. We had all those examples, and there is Jeanette, a good book. I think it's called Burnout, 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 and it's by the Nagoski sisters. I can put
Oh,
that
I
in the
think I've read
chat.
it. I think I read it,
Oh, did
yeah, a
you?
few years ago.
Yeah,
I should read it
yeah,
again.
and it's a good reminder. And one of the things that they talk about links to what we talked about with the neuroscience of it, the physiological response, is that you have to complete that stress cycle. So for some people, meditating and mindfulness might be very helpful. For other people, they need to go kickboxing, or they need to go, climb a mountain, or they may need to do art or sing in a choir. So it really, it's the thing. A lot of times with burnout, it's not doing less. And I know it sounds counterintuitive. It's not necessarily doing less. It's about doing more of the things that bring you joy. It's about doing things that feed your soul, your spirit, and give you that energy that can counterbalance some of the other stresses that are on your mind and your body. So that's yeah, these are the things we talk about in the program too, because there are so many great ideas and so much good information out there. Now I think I can't remember who was next.
Yeah,
Catherine,
I
was
think it
it?
was Marjorie, and then we'll go to MC, and then I think we're going to have
Okay.
to move things
I
along.
know.
I
Yeah.
hate interrupting the
Okay.
conversation.
Yeah. Okay,
I,
Marjorie.
I kind of call it burnout hangover. I actually pulled myself out of work a couple of years ago and some of my volunteer work and did a number of steps to try to make things better or making myself better. But I don't feel like I'm still there. Like, does it sometimes like it comes back, or does it you're not completely healed yet? It just
Mm,
seems like a fog and fuzziness that's
Yeah.
there, or
Yeah.
energy that we usually have.
Yeah, I think Marjorie, it's very true. And I know I did go back to work. So I'm just giving a personal example. I did go back to work and I could feel myself slipping back into that, like, oh, I just want to make this perfect. And I just need to do that one more thing and not saying no. So I had to reset myself and I had to talk to my manager about some things I was and wasn't able to do. So it's not a quick fix and it doesn't solve everything. It's kind of a new way of being. It's a new way of showing up every day. So it can take continuous effort. But if you kind of can really form those habits, then it can be very helpful. And I think Catherine talked about some of that's why it's not our program is not just a workshop or a retreat for a weekend because these things do take time and to make that lasting change, you need to explore some things. Like, why do you have a hard time setting boundaries? Why do you have to have this be perfect? Why is it so hard to say no? And it again, it's different for everyone, and it does take some time to figure these things out. And I will say this isn't necessary for everyone, but I did see and it was the first time I'd ever done it, and it was fantastic. And it helped me. And I also got coaching. That's how I started getting into coaching. So yeah, I hope that helps answer your
Yeah,
question,
I
Marjorie.
just I just want to flag something also to everybody else. When I took my time off, I didn't just go to Netflix and bonbons. I took this seriously and did a number of
Mm,
different things. And one of the things that I was diagnosed with was ADHD, but ADHD inattentive. And what is interesting about that is you want dopamine, so you'll always take on more. And so it was really about that self awareness. Yeah, the people
ah,
pleasing boundaries, all those were there too. But that was the thing where I had to start asking myself, why am I going to take this on and what am I going to give up?
Yeah,
So
mhm.
ADHD is not just running around and hitting walls. There's other
No,
ways because some
yeah.
people don't understand.
And it's
yeah,
deeper. It's deeper. And certainly this program, we want to be super clear coaches, not therapists, but it can pair really
yes.
well with therapy. So I'm going to go to MC. Yeah. Do you want to come in? Thanks so much, Marjorie.
Hi. I'm a recovering burnout person. I used to live years in that, so I set my boundaries. So I think I'm good for that. But these courses and webinars and seminars are really just a good reminder for me. But I guess my question is, or observations or something, I don't know. But I just wanted to bring it up is the fine line between, I guess, going into overdrive, which I know I think it's inevitable. That's just the nature of work and the workplace. So you will go there, but and it's personal because I kind of like I feel like I thrive in certain aspects of being really really busy, and I don't know if that's a bad habit of mine, but I like juggling projects because I feel that my mind is on fire and I feel, I guess, an adrenaline rush. So there's that part, and I think I perform really well under a lot of pressure because I think a lot of good work comes out of that. For me, that's, again, it's just personal. But where's that fine line of taking that and then coming down off of that, but not going like not dipping so low to be depleted? So there's that fine line of that wave. Or for me, sometimes I think of it as a roller coaster of, when you're on a roller coaster, you're like, woo, you get that high and you get that adrenaline rush, but you don't go so far that you're going to crash your roller coaster or crash into the wave. So I guess I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I guess it's where's that fine line
Mm,
between
Yeah.
burning
yeah.
out on that one and just actually recovering earlier so you don't get into that burnout mode.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of the, the magic. If we can find that balance is the idea, because we want to perform, right? We want to make an impact, and we like work, and work is energizing, right? So this is not at all to put
Mhm.
a negative spin on work, but I think the word is sustainability. And if we're not going with those natural rhythms of, okay, we're working and we're doing good, and then we're going to recover. And sometimes recovery might be that pause. It might be a 10-minute walk. It might be, but it's really making sure that we come back to that vitality zone, so that we're not creating that huge tsunami wave. Because, what goes up has to come down, and if it goes up with force, it's going to come down with force. So, we
Mhm.
think that diagram, that energy management model is a good gauge to say, am I in this zone? But it doesn't mean, we're sitting there feeling all calm, meditating all day,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because the,
Yeah.
the work energizes us, and that's,
Yeah.
it's the economic engine, right?
Hmm. And I'll add to that, Catherine, just picking up actually on what Jeanette mentioned, is that listening to your body is a really good practice, because it will start to tell you. It'll start to tell you when you're out of sync, right? And one of the hard things when you're on that hamster wheel, when you are running and it's just, that energy and the adrenaline is pumping and your dopamine rushes everywhere, it's hard to listen to your body, right? We're living up here in this part. And so that's where things like those mindful pauses, those moments where you sit alone, like in the morning, 5 minutes, having your tea or your coffee, and just like don't do your to-do list, just be there where you are. Feel like you start thinking about something, you feel, okay, where am I feeling? I'm angry. Where am I feeling that in my body? Is my gut twisting? Am I really tense in my shoulders? So just observing what is happening in your body can be a good indication for you that you might need to do something. And you are the only one who will know what that is for
Hmm.
you.
Thanks for that. So,
But
Alex,
it's a great question, because it's hard to know, and it takes a little bit of attention and mindfulness on that question itself.
yeah,
Thanks.
thanks for that, Rosemary. We'll
Yeah.
take one more comment from Alex, and then we will go into our final
Mm.
tool and wrap up.
Hi there. I made a comment earlier about risk factors, like risk factors that in our profession. And I'm actually in the middle of writing a blog post about this very thing. And I'm going to be recalling a session that I attended hosted by CPRS and IEDC a few years ago on the levels of stress in our profession. But just for any of you that are interested in this, there is research about, I think it's no surprise to any of us, that the communications profession is one of the most stressful. And the Institute of Public Relations did a recent study, and there was definitely more than 30%, I think it was around 30% of PR professionals self-assessed that they were experiencing or close to burnout. And so that's like a pretty fresh study. And then there was another one in 2024 on this. And so, like I said, I'm in the middle of writing a blog post about this, because I know that many of us, no matter where we are in our careers in PR, but especially if you're a leader, um, this is so prevalent in our profession, um, and it's been studied, and so it's so timely. It's so timely that Kath and your colleague have put together um, this course, right? So
Mm,
keep an
right.
eye open. Keep
Thanks.
an eye open for this blog post. But in the meantime, Most PR professionals are taking work home with them. 8 in 10 are working outside of regular business hours at least once a week. 58% say they work more than 40 hours a week. So these are all 71% who work in house report really high stress levels. 75% who work in agencies report high stress.
Yeah.
So basically, a lot of us
Yeah.
are at risk of burnout. And so it's something that as a profession, we need to be especially mindful of as leaders. And the other thing I wanted to add to that is think about the job descriptions. Think about the words you often see in a posting, desired qualities, strong work ethic, ability to juggle competing demands amid tight timelines. Like everything we were talking about earlier is often, surviving, ability to survive in a fast-paced environment. Somebody willing to roll up their sleeves and go the extra mile, right?
Yeah.
Like
Hey,
these are this is the language.
I would love a copy of that
Yeah.
study, and we're happy to
Yeah.
share it out. And I
Yeah.
know there's people,
Mhm.
other professions
Yeah.
here, but that is
Okay.
that's so relevant. So
Okay.
thank you for sharing that. And I'm always a timekeeper on these things,
Yeah, we
because we
do.
like to start and end on time. But I think we have just another final question, and then we'll leave you with a tool here. So let me go back to the deck. And so this is another Menti question. If you want to pull out that, again, reminder of that code, it's on top of the slide. Oh, okay. And so as you look at this, and there's an assessment you can take without the questions. So Rosemary, I'll turn it over to you just to walk us through the question here.
Okay, so let me just find my bearings here. I got so into that conversation. Yeah, so on this question that we're going to ask you is, without doing the assessment yet, but having, taking a moment to look at the different zones here, the thriving zone, strain zone, depletion zone, and crisis zone, where would you put yourself, just kind of looking at it? Depletion zone, right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot in that depletion zone. And this is where you'll do the assessment on your own and get some further exploration into this. But this is where you do really want to start putting your well-being first and taking some positive actions to help that. I know it seems obvious, but it is about prioritizing yourself to not get into that really extreme crisis zone, because that can be really difficult and challenging to recover from. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that nobody is putting themselves in that crisis zone,
Yeah.
because burnout
Mhm.
is a continuum. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay.
Catherine, I'll turn over the
Yeah.
last
So
part to you.
just to close here, um, I will so a couple of things. We're going to leave you with this question, but in addition to the burnout assessment, which we'll send you, we'll also send you a worksheet that gives you 3 energy management strategies that you can start today. And so as we wrap up, here's something we'd like you to try this week. And so the invitation is to write down this question on a sticky. Rosemary will put that into the chat so you can grab it. So you can put it on a sticky note, on your phone, however you remind yourself. It's a deceptively simple strategy, but powerful when used daily, is asking yourself that question: what's one small thing I can say no to or yes to today that will restore my energy and protect my peace. And if we do this on a daily basis, we start to build up that habit. We will take a quick picture. Maybe if I stop sharing the screen. Rosemary, if you want to grab a quick picture, just so we get all of your names. So those of you that have hung with us to the end, we will enter you into a draw for a free coaching session with Rosemary, and we'll announce who that is in our follow-up email. We're grateful for your time today, your participation, for giving us your energy. We hope to see you inside the Survive to Thrive coaching program. Certainly check it out. And we're glad you're here. And so, Rosemary, I think you found this beautiful quote just to end us on.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you so much, everyone, for being here and sharing this time with us. And yeah, this final quote is that burnout isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that we've been strong for too long without recharging. So we leave that with you and hope that you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks,
Yeah.
Bob.
Thanks, Alex. Look
Thank
forward to
you.
that study.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, take care.
Take care.